Welcome to My Best 11 podcast. Today we are joined by a goalkeeper extraordinaire who is one of the few players to have played both sides of the M1 derby, as they like to call it, but spent his time growing up around Ramsey, and then spent some time at Ipswich, Colchester, Tranmere, Luton, Sunderland and Watford, and in that interim also spent some time on loan at a number of clubs, including Liverpool and Chelsea. Today we are joined by Alec Chamberlain. How are you, Alec?
I'm very well, thank you. Very nice to be here.
Good. And what was it like hearing that as an intro?
Yeah, no, it's always nice. I mean, it's almost like an out-of-body experience. You know, it's like somebody else's life, that was. And now you're old and decrepit and you can't dive around anymore. It's it seems.
What was the guy's name? Was it Michael Aspel? Was that used to be with the "This Is Your Life" thing? Is that what it used to be?
This Is Your Life. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a bit like that. But it does seem a long time ago. But obviously, some things feel like yesterday when you start talking about them. But we're very fortunate, as Marvel, I'm sure, always said, to do what we've done. Over a long period of time, to stay in football and be involved in football, even now, in a different capacity. But it's a very privileged life, really. So from a farmer's boy to a footballer and a goalkeeper, it's been quite interesting.
Fantastic, sounds great. We'll dig into that in a little bit. Marvin, how are you? How's it feel to see Alec, one of your ex-teammates?
Morning. It's great to see Alex. I mean, I think I've mentioned it before. Now, we've had quite a few goalkeepers on, and Alec is, everyone, and not a lot of people say this, that he is one of the nicest guys you could meet, all right? And also, as a goalkeeper, Andrew, I felt was very intelligent. It came across that way to me anyway. The mad goalkeepers or whatever. Al was very intelligent, in my opinion, in my time, what I remember him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting chat.
Yeah, you had at the time, to put that into a little bit of perspective, at the time when I joined Luton, Les Sealey was there, God rest his soul, and you had completely the other end of the spectrum. We had like Les who was completely, would flip at if someone chipped him in training, he would literally throw his gloves on the floor and walk off. And just leave me to carry on with all the shooting and everything, on my own. And obviously, in the end, it kind of caught up with him. Unfortunately, he did have his heart problems and sadly passed away. But everybody that's ever been in contact with Les Sealey would know exactly what I'm talking about. He was a real firecracker, wasn't he, Marv? Yeah. So I'm always been quite laid back. I think I've got a long kind of long fuse where. Takes me a long time to get really wound up, but if you do really get me, then I properly go. So different characters, but a lot of people have said that about not so much intelligent. I'm very, very grateful for that. Thanks, Marv. But I'm the most sensible goalkeeper they've ever met. Because goalkeepers have had this reputation for being lunatics really over the years, haven't they? I'm not so sure now the modern day ones are so much, but but then I think it's they're a little bit more vanilla in general, aren't they? The footballers, they live such a fairly sterile life, really.
Yes, true. Yeah, very true, very true. So we're here to talk about your best 11 players. Those people who haven't listened to the podcast before, what we can do with Alec is go through the best 11 players he's ever set foot on a pitch with. Now, obviously, he's a goalie, so the goalkeeper will let slide, but everybody else he has to have played on a part in a competitive match with. So first off, we're going to start off looking at formation. This is always interesting as we're talking to a goalkeeper. They either go ultra defensive because they want to worry about goals, or they kind of, don't worry about it. I always fancy myself as a striker. What's your formation?
Well, I'm a fairly old school kind of guy. So I'm going with the classic 4-4-2, simply really because the lads, I've got a little bit of flair in the wide areas. And I wanted to fit sort of, four defenders who I think would do a very good job and have been obviously very, very influential people in my clubs. 4 midfield players, 2 central midfielders that that I had a lot of high regard for, and then strikers from different, not so much different eras, but different backgrounds. And one of the lads in particular, without giving too much away, was potentially going to be, a real superstar. And unfortunately, he got injured and it didn't quite work out. In fact, he might have ended up becoming one of our teammates, Marv, at one point. But that didn't actually happen in the end. Unfortunately, I was talking to Ray Harford a lot about this particular person and trying to see why he wasn't going to go and get him, because he knew a lot about him as well. So there again, there's a few clues.
There's another clue. There's a few clues.
Yeah.
There is a few.
So I like the idea of 2 up front. The old-fashioned strikers playing as a partnership, and it's what we probably grew up with, and certainly played a lot of in my time at Watford as well.
Fantastic. So we'll dive straight in to goalkeepers. So give us a few clues on the way and see if Marv and myself can guess these players. Off you go, Alec.
Right. Well, the goalkeeper was he was an international footballer, and he's still involved in the football now. I've seen him involved a championship club now, not as a player anymore, but on the coaching staff. He was a bright young up-and-coming goalkeeper. It was quite a funny story, really, that I'd played up till this point every game of this season, and it was just after Christmas, and a young goalkeeper come and trained with us, and I thought, well, he looks quite decent, quite sharp. Made some great reaction saves, and my contract was running out of this club where he came at the end of that season, and because I played every game, the manager was trying to replace me in that summer, and actually Brad Feed was mentioned, and he in the end they couldn't get a work permit for him, so I played the rest of that season, was going in to see whether or not he'd changed his mind, whether I'd performed well enough for him to think about giving me another contract at the end of that year, before obviously all these agents came along, and did all this for you. And he said, well, you're not playing Sunday. I went, you what? He said, no, you're not playing Sunday. He didn't even talk about my contract. I said, well, who is then? He said, the lad that trained me this morning. So I was like, well, I said, he's a kid. He's like, I was at the time, probably I'd have been about 30, 31. So peak, round about the peak sort of thing, it was a bit of a slap in the face, I've got to say.
So, sorry, Al, was he just dropping you for bad form?
Completely dropping me. I think that the manager in question, which will come out, never really fancied me. And it was one of those situations where I played. There was another goalkeeper that was obviously connected to the club, and he didn't really fancy either of us. I think the other guy went out on loan a bit. I stayed there and played, and I think he might have got injured as well. So he brought him in on loan, hadn't actually said anything to me, just literally took him that morning, and it was just pure timing that I went along and knocked on his door. We trained down about 3 miles away, and had to go back to the ground where we got changed, and then I went upstairs, knocked on his door, and that was the news I got. So it was a bit of a blow, and I spent the next 3 months out of the team, travelling around.
But interestingly, you rate him though as the best goalkeeper you've seen in a squad around you. Then,
so is he still playing?
No, he's on a coaching.
Right.
But he was when you think
I had someone in mind, but it's not. I can't think. I mean, it's not who I thought then, because I thought it was.
It's because, I mean, obviously I could give you more clues as to where.
No, it's all right.
No.
Andrew, do you know Andrew?
I'm going to go Lenny Pidgley.
No, it was a good guess because he did similarly at Watford from Chelsea. I lost my place when I got sent off for Watford at Crewe in a.
And I thought you were talking about Ray Lewington. That's who I thought you were talking about.
No, Ray did actually like me. He did like me.
Well, the only goalkeepers I know around that time, young goalkeepers coming in, was him.
Ben Foster, I was thinking.
Chris Day.
Still.
Chris Day.
Yeah. No. Again, they're all.
You've done us out. You've done us out.
All good. All good guesses, but I would say Ben Foster did come in right when I was really, pushing 40, really. So I had no real massive complaints. So I would say I could have gone Ben.
You're at Watford.
I could have gone Ben Foster because he's probably the, but I wouldn't have considered myself a real player at that point in time. You know what I mean? I was coming to the real end of my career.
Yeah.
But are we talking about the club? Oh, the club is Watford, is it?
Yeah, club's Watford.
No.
Oh,
no.
Huh?
See?
No.
That's what I'm saying. No, it's not. Oh.
No.
So you're at Sunderland then?
Yes.
Who the hell was Sunderland goalkeeper back then?
Oh.
But no, it wasn't. He came on loan for 3 months.
Yes. Gordon?
No.
Craig
No,
Gordon.
you're
You
haven't gone far enough back.
Right.
You're going kind of around the Mike Hooper era, aren't we?
Yes, around that. That's very good. But it wasn't Hoops. It was somebody that went on and played for his country.
Which country? Which country?
Republic of Ireland.
Shay Given.
Oh. Yeah.
Correct. Shay Given.
Yeah.
So Shay came in that morning. He was on loan from Blackburn, and as I say, we trained. I thought, not bad at all. Good young kid. That they're obviously going to have a look at. And he told me he was from Blackburn. Nice Irish accent. Quite a quiet boy. Just got on with it. Went back. Peter Reid was the manager, and Peter Reid had made it obvious all through that summer that he was trying to replace me. Brad Friedel couldn't get a work permit, and there were several options. Didn't happen. So I started the season by default. Even up to the day before the season, we were doing, the final bit of set pieces and shape and all that. And Kevin Ball was like, well, you must be playing tomorrow then. It was one of those, where you literally, and it was poor man management, really, because he never, ever spoke to me and said, look, you're not really for me, but, I want you to go out. I want you to, play for yourself or do whatever. Never, ever spoke to me. Just let things run. And Shay came in that day, and then he played at Leicester that Sunday. And I think from there on in, he played every game up until Easter Monday. And then he got really badly caught on a cross. Someone really smashed him. He broke a couple of ribs. So he had to get through the rest of that game. I think he had about 20 minutes to go. So fair play to the kid. He got through the game. But then that was Easter Saturday. Then on the Easter Monday, I played at home against Charlton, and we drew 0-0.
Hello.
Oh, no. He was talking about them guys being good guys, and they sort out the internet. Now look, see, giving them coffee, biscuits and stuff.
Last week it was you. This week it's Alec. Next week it'll be me. Edits.
Oh my God.
Parts.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gone. Oh no, he's back. He's back.
You're on mute. What happened there?
Sorry,
yeah, giving them biscuits and stuff and coffee for the internet, and now look, see, it's gone off.
Oh. I suddenly thought, you lads are moving.
Were you still talking?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, you got to bed on Easter Monday's ribs, so he's carrying on.
Yeah, so he carried on, played to the end of that game, but then I had to take over on. So it was Easter Saturday when I think about it, and then I played on the Easter Monday, and then I played the rest of that season. We had about 6 games left, and we still had to get promotion, seal promotion. We were top, and then obviously to try and win the championship as well. And luckily, I mean, obviously the lads were flying. I had a very good team in front of me, very good defence, and we didn't concede a goal for 5 games. So I played the next 5 games, didn't concede. We won one promotion, and then we won on the 4th game we won promotion at home to, I might be like slightly wrong, but West Brom rings a bell. It might have been the one that might have been the one we won the league, but we won both. Obviously got promoted one week, and we won the league the next week. And then the very last game of the season, we got beat away at Tranmere. But, you know, obviously it was one of those where everybody...
Party mode.
But Al,
yeah.
But my question to you is, what was Peter Reid like personally towards you when you've done that, you're playing those games, no goals after each game? What was he like? Oh, well done, Al, or was he still like?
Yeah, no, he was fine. He was fine, and you know, I think it's like a lot of managers, you know, with goalkeepers, they only really bothered about you and get upset is if you do something wrong. You know, if you do what they just think that is your job, and that is like, you know, you should do what you do. So I don't think he was a particular lover of goalkeepers, apart from, you know, the real exceptional ones that he probably played with, like Neville Southall and Tony Coton at Man City spring to mind, you know. And he obviously just didn't think I was at that level, unfortunately. But and he's probably right. But at the same time, you know, you know,
there's ways of treating people, though.
Yeah, I was a good pro, and I think, to be fair, that I got a lot of respect from the players, the way that I handled that situation, and then come back into the team and performed, you know, well, and you know, because they still had a lot to do. You know, if I'd have gone under, you know, we could have blown everything at the end.
But you're right. That could have been a personal thing from your point of view. Like, you know what, F him, right? I'll go in, but like it'd be like a token gesture. You're only using me now because he's injured, and you could have like not been mentally tuned in, still trying to perform, but because you're not quite mentally there because of what he's done to you, they might not have got promoted. But that shows what a good pro you are.
Well, I was, you know, I think there was an element with goalkeeping. You know, you can't, you know, like some. I think if you're a wide player or you know, defenders and goalkeepers, you have to be, you know, it's self-preservation really. Because if you don't give it your lot, the only person you're gonna look a prat is yourself, really.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a little bit of self-preservation. There's obviously a bit of steel inside you that wants to shove it up the manager anyway and say, look, you know, but. I had no complaints overall, really. Shea was outstanding, so sharp. You know, made incredible saves. In the early days, he came for more crosses than he did probably later in his career. But probably young and fearless. Probably that incident at Barnsley probably kept him on his line a little bit longer after that, because he got absolutely banjoed. I was doing the local radio, as I say, like Radio Newcastle, with John Cairns, and. I remember at Barnsley's ground, he come to the back of the 6-yard box, and somebody just came around the back and just smashed him, absolutely smashed him. But they had no goalkeeper on the bench, you see. So in a way, he had to just struggle on. Yeah, he really did. And all credit to him. He did very well in those circumstances as well.
Excellent.
So moving on to right back.
Well, this lad, me and him go back a long way, back to county football, and ultimately played together then professionally for a good couple of seasons before he then moved on to bigger and better places and went on and had a long career. And I've seen him on the road a lot. He does a lot of scouting as well now. So so I still see him every season. Obviously, COVID, apart. I haven't seen him this season, but he's he's a lad that was just a machine, really. He was like a fullback that used to love getting forward, but robust as well, defensively, really robust. So the ideal sort of fullback, really.
You got it, Andrew?
I'm guessing. I'm going to guess Tim Breaker.
Correct. Yeah. So Tim, and he popped up with the incredible goal at Derby. In the incredible relegation game.
Do you know what? He spoke to us about that the other week, and he said he reckons he was signed to West Ham off the back of that goal.
I thought they got who was the penalty taker they used to score all the penalties. Used to smash the penalties, didn't he?
Oh, Jimmy Dix.
No, before him, earlier. There was another.
Ray Stewart.
That's it. Yeah, Ray Stewart. He was the right back, wasn't he? So maybe they thought he was going to be the new Ray Stewart. But no, Tim and I played for the old county of Huntingdonshire, and so our pass. Little did we know that. Probably I don't know what 6-7 years later, that we'd be playing for Luton Town together. And he was. I thought he was, as I say, a tough defensive, like good 1v1, good in the air. Just a quite a quiet lad, really, wasn't he, Tim?
Yeah.
Did he want the ball? I mean, did he want the ball from you, or would he rather it just go straight over the top of his head to the midfield? Do you know what I mean? I know the way the modern players, the modern right back and left back, get the ball quite often from the goalkeeper on the edge of the penalty box. Would he have wanted that?
I think he was. I think he was certainly adequate on the ball. I wouldn't say he was a silky right back by any means. I think he was more of a powerful right back that would get forward, but his crossing, he could deliver a cross. But in those days, I suppose under Jimmy Ryan and Ray, we played a little bit through from the back if it was on, but it was more if I got the ball from, say, across from their right, and then he would go, to sort of counter attack. It was more putting him in on a counter attack rather than today passing the ball out from the 6-yard box
slowly.
No, it wasn't. We didn't really play like that. I didn't feel it was. Even at Luton on the plastic pitch, with a target man like Mick Harford, it was you played your football, in the opposition's half, and Mick was such an incredible guy at getting balls onto his chest and laying it off, and giving it to the wide player, giving it to a midfield player, and then getting the box. That so I've just spat on my screen. Not a good look. So,
but Al, you touched on you came up like through the county or whatever with Tim. When was it you actually became a goalkeeper? Was it one of them ones where you just from the get-go, or was it one of them ones where you was like a centre forward? You're not very good centre forward, getting goal, or
it was. I did a bit of both. So I played for the real young county team when you were still in primary school. I played one game as centre midfield and then one game as a goalkeeper. There was another lad called John Henson, and but as I got older and into the more senior stuff, when I went to senior school, I trialled because by this time I thought I think I'd gone from centre mid to centre half, and eventually I thought, actually I'm probably a better goalkeeper than I am an outfield player. But when I went to senior school, there was another lad who trialled, because school football meant something in those days, as did county football. And we had actually an A team and a B team at school. And there was another lad called Roger Allpress who got selected ahead of me, in these trials. So I then trialled as an outfield player. And again, I think I might have started in midfield originally, and then became centre half. But what happened was, poor old Roger broke his leg with his dad in a car crash, and it was his femur at the top, the big bone. And he was in don't know if he's in plaster, but he was certainly affected with that for a long time. And he actually he lost a bit of height on one leg, so had a little bit of a differential in his size. He wasn't a big goalkeeper anyway. He was under 6 foot, but he had like one leg longer than the other after this crash. The B team goalkeeper for me was nowhere near it, and I knew I was better than him. So I insisted that we trialled again, and at the end of a games lesson, our history teacher at school also played for Ramsey Town. So Mr. Pierce used to take the football team. So I said to Ernie, I actually played with him at Ramsey. Ernie Pierce, I said, look, Mr. Pierce, I said, I know I'm better than Andrew Robinson, in goal. I said,
you named him as well. Poor kid. You've named him Andrew Robinson.
Sorry, but he might have gone on. I don't know.
I won't tag him on social media.
please don't. So we had like a shooting session at the end of training, or end of the games lesson, and that they were like, oh yeah, okay. So I went from that moment when this lad broke his leg. I went in goal for the school, and then obviously played. Got noticed enough to go and with the county, and because I guess I played with Huntingdonshire in goal and on pitch, they kept tabs on me anyway, and so I became like the goalkeeper with the county. Originally, I think we didn't have an age group all the way up. It was there was an under 18s, so if you could get in there if you were good enough, at 14, 15 realistically. I think I was involved when I was about 15, but I was on the bench, and then we did amazing. We got through to the FA County Youth Cup semi-final. We went away, played at Leyland, their factory is the Lancashire FA's place. We played Lancashire away, got beat in the semi-final, and then when those lads then were too old, I got in the side at about 16, and we did the same thing. We got all the way to the semi-final. We played Lancashire again, believe it or not, at Ramsey Town though, at home, and that's the game really that got me into professional football. There was about, I don't know how many scouts there, and I got about 5 trials from that one game, because it went to extra time. We drew 0-0. Obviously, I had a lot to do. We lost in extra time. I think it was 2-0 in extra time. But I went to Wolves, Ipswich, Norwich, Stoke, one other, can't think, Manchester City. There we go, Manchester City. So I had 5 trials from that one game, and ultimately Ipswich Town offered me a contract. I played one game for them. I went and I had a couple of days training at various times, and then I played an end of season game at Southend, actually on Roots Hall, believe it or not. And they said, look, we'd like you to come. I'd already started doing my A levels, left school in the end halfway through my A levels to go and join Ipswich, and could only get a 1-year contract, because obviously normally you leave at 16, don't you, and have a 2-year apprenticeship in those days. But I still had to do jobs and everything, but they gave me a 1-year pro. I think, but I had to pay my own digs, so I was about 60 quid a week and paying my own digs. I actually came out with less than the apprentices. It was like I got done up kipper, absolute done up kipper.
That's a good story. I like that.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah.
So it was a real stroke of fate. I literally. I always say to people, I literally fell into football. It was just fortune, be in the right place, right time. Obviously, you've got to take your opportunities.
Correct.
But you need that break. So had Roger Allpress not broke his leg, who knows whether I would actually have gone and played. You don't think?
You don't think?
You don't know. You don't know, do you? I mean,
no.
I might have done later, because I was going to get slower and slower on pitch, let me tell you. So that was, there was every chance I would have moved back eventually, but whether or not then the opportunity...
It'll be too late.
Yeah, maybe.
For training.
All right.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And I think anybody listening shows that keep plugging away, young kids, and eventually you might get there. Left backs for yourself. Let's move on to left back.
Yeah, I mean, like the right backs, really. I should have said that I had 3 right backs that were really strong, really strong.
And sorry, Al, you can give honourable mentions as well. So even like when you're leading up to it, even though it's not going to be that person, you can say this person, right, this person as well. So Yeah, well, Nigel Gibbs is really unlucky not to be in there, and Lloyd Doyley as well. Both Watford players, but both, I think, probably the best 2 1v1 defenders I've played with. And I think Lloyd learned a lot off Gibbo, to be fair. But Nigel Gibbs, I remember we played at Arsenal at the old Highbury, and he marked Mark Overmars and literally marked him out of the game. Incredible. And Gibbo was no spring chicken by then. He was over 30, and obviously nowhere near as quick as Overmars. Although Gibbo had good pace, but Overmars was rapid.
Oh, yeah, he was rapid. Yeah.
He had him in his pocket. He just knew. He knew when to go tight. He knew when to drop off. He just knew how to defend. He'd been taught well. Graham Taylor and before him, in the youth team. Tom Wally and people like that, amazing coaches, and so I think Lloyd Doyley then learned off Gibbo for sure, because Gibbo stayed on in the coaching staff as well. So I've got two left backs that I wrote down.
Yep.
Again, one from Watford days, I shouldn't have said that, and one from Sunderland days.
So you're the one you're choosing is obviously from the one from the Watford days, is it?
Possibly.
I'm going to go straight in there.
I'm not very good at this secret squirrel stuff.
Paul Robinson.
Yeah. I'll give that too easily. I mean, I think you'd have got him quickly anyway, because I was going to say that, he was a young boy, came into the side, from the youth team straight into the first team, and he went on and had a fantastic Premier League career at West Brom, particularly. Had a long time there, and had a real long career. I mean, he ended up playing still at Birmingham City for a long time, and stayed on there as a coach. So he was someone that matured. He was quite a lively character, Robbo, and he used to call me Dad. And I used to call him son. And even now, when we speak, it's all right, Dad, all right, son. It was because literally he was that young. And by the time I went to Watford, I was 32, going on to whatever I played till. But he was 17, 18, and getting in the first team. And he was a little bit reckless at times. He had a bit of a reputation for getting sent off, and getting booked. But he was athletic, fantastic left foot, real incredible spirit about him, competitive spirit. And another one, that was, you don't play Premier League football and Championship football if you're not a good defender, and he was a very good defender. But a great character. I mean, Christmas drinks and things like that, legendary.
Bit of a loose cannon.
A little bit, but
go on then. Give us a story then. Go on then, give us a story about it then.
Well, he probably won't thank me for this.
He'll be fine.
But there was definitely one year where it was bad taste. We had to obviously dress, go to charity shops, get your bad taste gear, and Robbo, I can't remember where we were, but Robbo, instead of going to the toilets, he just used to wet himself.
That doesn't surprise me. Did he think he was playing Luton the next day or something?
Yeah. Well, he thought this would be an authentic way of being like a tramp, So he just wet himself. It was funny at the time, obviously after a few drinks, and once that warmth went through him though, and then he had just those wet, cold trousers. I'm sure that wasn't the best idea then, but
no.
Yeah, that was one of his party pieces. Yeah,
Wow.
And there was another. I think on the same day, he first time I'd ever had these drinks called monkey brains, and they were like Baileys with something else you put in, and it makes it kind of.
It looks like a brain, like a monkey.
Looks like a brain.
Yes.
Oh, and Robbo got us all on these monkey brains. Well, we were absolutely, legless, you can imagine. So he was the monkey brain boy, yeah, as well. Yeah, young boy. I mean, what a lad. I mean, I think he lives in Stratford-upon-Avon now, so not that far from me. I'm in Northampton, and but I haven't seen him lately. But he had a school girl, like a romance, school, and stayed with the same girl, Caroline, all the way from school. Great story. I think they got 4 kids. Wonderful family, lovely people, and his mum and dad as well. All used to come to the games, like yours, mum and dad, Marv. It was just fantastic times because we knew everybody's families as well. It was great. Yeah. So
lovely. So moving on to centre backs. Either or.
Right. Yeah. Well, again, I could go. When I was thinking about it, I'd written this list a long time ago when we were possibly going to do it end of last year, and then this morning I've been looking through it again, and I was thinking, I'm leaving a lot of really strong people out, Marvin's included. Sorry, Marv.
Frankie, that's fine. No, listen, that's good.
It's people like yourself and Tumble, John Tray, people like that who were great. Greza, great. Daichi,
Daichi didn't
awesome.
make it. Daichi didn't make it.
Don't tell him. For Christ's sake, don't tell him. So I'll get sacked at Burnley straight away. But Mal Donaghy, for crying out loud, Fozzie, all these people that were amazing centre halves. So yeah, I've got 2. One, naturally, they're both right-footed. Obviously, one has to play on the left. So I've got one, and this guy started his playing days, as far as I know anyway, at Oxford, and played for his country. And he was amazing off the pitch in terms of, hardly said a word, but then you gave him a pint of lager and you never seen such a happy man, you know what I mean? He was just like, and he had hollow legs.
Got it, Andrew.
I'm going to go for Robert Page.
No.
Oh.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing.
I was so confident.
Got it.
Robert Page, I swear, played for Oxford, and he played for Wales, and he was a centre back.
He didn't play for Oxford, but he did play. He did play for Wales, and this guy in question, he did also play for Wales. So there you go. It's another clue.
Oh, I've got it.
Chris Coleman.
No.
Did he play for Sunderland?
Didn't play with Chris.
I'll tell you who it is. Is Andy Melville.
Boom. Well done. Yeah. Andy Melville was he was definitely ahead of his time in terms of a ball playing centre back. He was really good on the ball. Played for Fulham.
100%.
Yeah, he
100% agree with you, Al.
Great in the air. And as I say, off the field, Mel was a quiet man, but you got him in the corner of a pub and he just used to sit there like drinking. And he became this happy kind of, chatty bloke, which didn't used to say 2 words to you all week. Got him in a pub, but he was different class. And
was he not a shouter on the pitch then?
Yeah, no, to be fair, he would organise, he would. Yeah, he had a different character on the field. And again, anybody that plays for their country and plays Premier League football like Mel did, he was class, and he played a lot of games as well. He played, loads of games. So he did his time in the lower leagues and worked his way up, and then did well. And recently, he's now just started going into the agency world, actually. But he was chief scout at Northampton Town locally. So he still lives in Oxford with his wife. So I've seen him at games when I've been out scouting, and I sort of used to see him at Ipswich as well. Sorry, Ipswich, Northampton. At Northampton games, when he was there. But it's a precarious business, and obviously he moved on, and in the end he thought, well, poacher turned gamekeeper now, so he's gone into the agency world. But
is it Sunderland? You played with him, Sunderland.
Yeah, played with him at Sunderland. Yeah. He was part of that team that we won the championship and went up. Yeah. So
I totally agree with you, Al. Like, Mel. I met Mel through Tippy, Philip Gray, when he was at Sunderland and stuff. And then, you said way ahead of his time, like as a ball playing centre half. Really, because he was around a lot earlier than me, I think. So, and I remember him being so comfortable in the ball, so comfortable.
Yeah,
in the ball.
He was. People have talked. Sadly, Glenn Roeder passed away, didn't he, a few weeks ago? And Glenn was kind of, even in a previous era, ahead of his time, because he played on that QPR pitch, and he, doing his step overs and things. Mel wasn't quite that kind of. Didn't probably come forward with the ball, but he was comfortable to sort of play out and
calm.
Comfortable, calm. Yeah. Real solid. A lad you could depend on. You knew that he was going to be 7, 8 out of 10 every week. Absolutely. Rarely had a bad game. So the other
next to Andy is
next to Andy. Well, this guy really impressed me because when I played with him, he was much younger than me, but he was captain of our team.
Same club?
No.
Ooh. Okay.
So he again, I've the people I've not mentioned Kevin Ball either, by the way.
That's who I was thinking of.
Kevin Ball, along with Daichi, probably the best captains I've ever played with. They were like, Kevin Ball was like a proper man. Like a fierce. Fierce competitor. I've seen him chin his own players in training, never mind like the opposition, and he used to snap people. Played either midfield or he played at the back. He probably played more in midfield at Sunderland in the end with me than he did at the as centre back. But I could have had him either, and in fact he hasn't made it in either position, unfortunately. But he's one of those players that will always have close links with my heart, because he was very important to me when I played at Sunderland. I think from a mental sort of companionship, I think he'd come from the south, from Hastings, and played obviously a lot of games for Portsmouth, and he was so he knew what it was like to come from the south to the north. In actual fact, he's never moved. He stayed up there. He's a legend up there, and like a club ambassador and things like that. But sadly, Bally didn't get in this side. So this guy I'm talking about, yes, he was a very young captain. He lost his hair quite young as well, and right-footed, played for his country.
Was it Ireland, the country?
No. It was Wales. So, Andy.
Oh, Robert Page.
Yeah.
Robert there we
go. You got him there, Andy. You got the tea.
I thought he'd be in there somewhere.
Yeah, Pagey. Obviously now he's like at the moment in charge of Wales national team. With Ryan Giggs' problems. So, and I've worked with Pagey with the Wales under-21s as well. I do the goalkeeping coaching with the Wales under-21s. So I've had a lot of connections with Pagey all the way through, really. But again, it's someone that he was such a fantastic competitor. Grew up under Tom Wally, so he had great defensive tuition from Tom, and great principles, really. And he's gone on, and he went on Sheffield United, Coventry, played a lot of football at different clubs, but ultimately also played international football. So you have to tip your hat to him. You know, for anybody that's played for their country, you know, fantastic. Great lad. You know, real top lad. Someone, you know, that you could always rely on, really. You know,
Why would you think he was made captain at such a young age? What?
Well, I think people are born to those sort of roles, and I think Pagey was always that kind of leader of men, even though he was dealing with a lot of lads that were experienced and a lot older than him. Didn't faze him one bit. Which is why, you know, I can always think when he went to manage his country from the under-21s, he got called up, and now obviously he's had to step in. I didn't think it would faze him because he's just a natural leader of men.
Even though he's managing people like Bale and Ramsey and people like that who are superstars. No,
that's right. I mean, yeah, I mean, it must be quite daunting, really. But, you know, at the same time, he's got a real manager's edge about him. I felt with the under-21s with Wales, having seen him close up in the dressing room as a manager, I just thought he commanded respect, you know, and that was the same when he was a player. You know, you have to, if you're a captain, you have to be first pick on the team sheet, ideally, and you have to lead by example. So, of course, those things came naturally to him. I think he's a real competitor. I've been away with the even younger age groups with Wales, with under 19s, under 17s, and Pagey's mad about playing head tennis. So we went to this pre-season tour or sort of tournament in Hungary, a place called Telki. It's their national training centre. Every day, myself and Rob Edwards had to play Pagey and Paul Bodin at head tennis every day. And it was July, it was about 90 degrees. It was a proper sweat box, you know. And it was great fun, but Pagey would not stop until he'd won. You know, it's one of those, you know, he had to win. So it shows you his character, really, and his determination. And, you know, that's why he's just got the edge for me. I think because he was so young and such a young captain, showed such great leadership at that age. I think, apart from his ability as a centre, he'd head anything as well. You know, he was a tough boy, very tough boy.
Excellent. Fantastic. So what we can do is we're going to pause there for a short break from our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll hear part 2 of Alec Chamberlain's My Best 11. So welcome back for part 2 of Alec Chamberlain's My Best 11. So far we have Shay Given, Tim Breaker, Paul Robinson, and centre-backs are Andy Melville and Robert Page. So we'll start off on the right-hand side of Alec's 4-4-2, right-hand side of midfield. So take it away, Alec, over to you.
Okay, well, this guy is a real... This might surprise. It surprises me that I'm even putting him in the team because
Thank you for listening to My Best 11 Pod. We are currently accepting applications for advertisement and sponsorships. You can reach us at My Best 11 Pod or mybest11pod@gmail.com.
Skillful.
Thank you.
The player that had the most ability on the ball I think I've ever played with. You know, he could do tricks. I remember him doing something in the dressing room before the game. It literally blew my mind. I'd never seen it done before. Probably kids do it all the time now. But I was sitting, you know, literally just, you know, sort of waiting to go out for the warm-up or something like that. And he was messing about with the ball. And he flicked the ball towards me and dragged it back at the same time, you know, like boom, boom. And I went to catch the ball, you know, like thinking he was knocking it. And he took it back again. So he was a bit of a circus act, but on his day, he could be unplayable because he had pace, he had trickery, he could score a goal. But other days, you know, he'd be totally anonymous. He was a typical winger, really. You know, a bit.
Club? What club?
Our club. Our club.
Yes. I think I know who it is. I think I know who it is. When you said that, when you said that trick, I thought, That's
yeah.
Go on,
Andrew.
Go on,
Marv.
No.
I'm nowhere near. No, you go for it, Marv.
I'm just gonna guess Roy Wegley.
You're right. Yeah, he's spot on. Yeah, he went on and played. He played for Chelsea, didn't he? And or was that before us? QPR.
No, QPR. Coventry.
He came to us from Chelsea for 50
And he was at QPR, then Coventry. Have I got recollections of Coventry? Or am I getting confused?
Yeah, but and I don't think he probably actually fulfilled his potential, if I'm honest. But he was, as I say, he was a maverick, and he's not really a player that I would ever hang my hat on. If you're talking about having a winger that can do something different, I mean, the other dads I'd got from my Watford days when Nick Wright, who scored that amazing overhead kick at Wembley, absolute workhorse, but by his own admission, didn't particularly have a trick, but he would push and run and then get across him. So he did what he had to do, and Graham Taylor sort of embedded in him that he had to trap the back post. So any balls that were getting crossed from the left-hand side, he would be there and he would get a tap in. And he scored a few goals like that, righty, but obviously will always be remembered for his overhead kick at Wembley, and was so unlucky that he got badly injured the season afterwards and had to ultimately retire. And the other lad, who was kind of a right back or a right winger, or a wing back actually, played when we did play a five, was Darren Baisley. Another one who was probably a bit more, could probably do a bit more of a trick than righty, but again, he was he had that versatility. A lovely lad. He lives in Australia. New Zealand now, Bays. But he did come over. I think he was at one of the Australian clubs just as COVID hit. Was it Newcastle?
Newcastle Jets. Yeah, Newcastle Jets.
Yeah, but he works for the New Zealand FA anyway now. I think he's done very well with his coaching career with New Zealand. But yeah, Roy, I say it was a fleeting time that I probably played with Roy, and Roy probably, but he's the one player that I've given a bit of a license to go and do your thing, in the team. Yeah. Where there's a lot of structure and a lot of disciplined players in this side, but yeah, Roy was definitely the maverick. South Africa.
Yeah, you need a game changer, and I think that's where you've gone with Roy Wegley. Is that when we hear the rest of your team, I think you'll find that he's the one. If it's a tight game, who could do that little bit of magic, which he could do, like he was unbelievable. I mean, he was quick, like you said. He could head. Like his dribbling skills were fantastic.
Amazing. Yeah. To be fair, on the other wing, he was a game changer as well, but probably had a little bit more discipline in his game. He would do probably a bit more for the team out of possession. We'll go across to the left if you want while we're there. Yep. Okay. Well, this lad was it's going to be too easy for you to guess, Marv. He was a choir boy, really. He should have been a choir boy, not a footballer. He was the poshest footballer I've ever played with. The most well spoken, the most polite. He would go red if anybody spoke to him.
I'll start writing his name down now, shall I?
Yeah, I mean, and yet he was a genius. Really on the ball. Scored lots of great goals. His delivery with his left foot was amazing. His set pieces were great. He scored some vital goals for us. Again. Yeah. In vital games, and he went on and obviously had played for bigger clubs probably, but also played for his country, and at the same time was always kind of like building up a property portfolio, wasn't he? Yeah. He was kind of like, he was ahead of his time, really. Probably a millionaire outside of football, you know what I mean, without his football, but a brilliant player. And
Andrew
Kingsley Black.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Quiet boy. Yeah. He was the quietest man in the world, and very well spoken, like you said. Like even when he was like angry, it's a little bit. He's apologetic, wasn't he?
Yeah. Do you know what? You're totally right. My nan used to. I think I spoke to him about this. My nan used to work at the school as the PA to the head teacher, headmaster, and she said she remembers him coming in upright, perfect uniform. Everything was perfect and spick and span, even when he was kind of 5 or 6 or 7. Apparently, he just had that look about him even then. But she remembers him then. So you're right in terms of just his outlook and his demeanour, even at that age.
No, he's a lovely lad. You can never fall out with Kings. You know, he was just a lovely lad. You know, and if, like Marv said, if he got angry, he would even swear with a posh voice. You know, it was hilarious. Hilarious. So I think probably if he was a bit upset with anybody and he then swore at you, and then you just laugh back at him because he was swearing so in such a posh voice, you know, that it would probably wind him up even more. You know? But yeah, what a player! What a player! He could run. He could push it and run. He could beat somebody with ability, you know, with skill. And his left foot, he could open a can of beans with. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Scored 2, didn't he, in that game at Derby?
Yeah.
Popped up with the last one, I think, the crucial one when they got back to 2-2. And then probably the worst 15 minutes of football you'll ever see. I've actually watched it back, where I literally get the ball. Do you remember? I used to get the ball, used to roll it. We had to roll it out and pass it back to me, pick it up, roll it the other side, pick it up. And then, so I was doing that for most of the last 15 minutes, just trying to literally, you know, waste the game away. But then Julian James gave a real, like, dodgy back pass to me. He tried to volley it back to me. And this was really quite, after we were 3-2 up, they put Mark Wright up front, you know, pushed him up from centre half. And so I say, Julian must have got the ball on the volley and he tried to just volley it back to me, but he left me short. So I've had to come running out of the box and Mark Wright's coming in and I've absolutely banjoed Mark Wright. I broke his jaw. I broke his jaw. And
what, was in England international Mark Wright?
Yeah. I only found this out years later. It's an amazing story because I knew I'd caught him bad, you know, because obviously I just got there first, and he got there first. But I smashed his jaw, so the ball went out, you know, safe because it was sort of wide of the 18-yard box. But I caught him with my knee right in his thigh, and so I gave him, like, as far as I knew, he went off with the most horrendous dead leg. Years later, I was on loan from Sunderland at Liverpool. Who did I run with? Mark Wright. Unbelievable, right? So we're in the room talking about, he said, did you play for Luton that day? Again, you know, last game. I said, yeah. I said, oh, yeah. I said, you come up front, didn't you? And I said, I whacked you. He went, you put me out of the World Cup, mate. I think it was the World Cup or the European Championships. He said, it wasn't my jaw. My jaw wasn't the problem. He said, the dead leg he gave me, he said, I just couldn't get rid of it. It was like, I couldn't run on it, you know. He said, it was the worst dead leg ever. And yet, you know, I had no idea. We were just celebrating, weren't we? Because we stayed up. You know, it was like one of the best achievements of my career that day. I will never ever forget how amazing that feeling was, you know, to stay up, because we never won a game all season, had we? And we went to the baseball ground on a rock hard pitch and won 3-2 to stay up. And Forest got beat 3-0. No,
That's
sorry.
It.
Sheffield Wednesday lost
3-0
to Nottingham Forest under Cloughy. Yeah.
And do you remember what happened after that, where we went?
Yeah. They ended up with in the same resort, didn't they? That's right. Yeah.
Port Banús, wasn't it? We ended up going to Spain. They were in Spain, and we walked into the bar, and it was like, "Where's Sheffield Wednesday? There's Luton Town."
Yeah. What are the chances? Yeah.
I know.
And how was that? awkward, or who left? You left, or you just?
I think
I didn't think it was that bad, was it?
With, but I think after like the initial, like, oh, you know, that was fine. Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, what can you do? You know, it's you know, it's what's happened.
Professional sport, yeah, professional game.
Yeah. So yeah.
So Kingsley Black is on left midfield, central midfields. Who are you going for in there, Alec?
Okay, so these two were, well, one of them was an international, right-footed. One of them was a left-footer, so I got a nice bit of balance. Shall I go? I'll go with the right foot to start with. International footballer. A great character, great lad. You know, all the boys loved him. He was a smoker, actually, cheeky smoker. Loved to drink, loved to fag, but ran all day. You know, he was fit as a fiddle, ran all day. Better on the ball than probably people gave him credit for, and would pop up with an important goal for us. Real feisty little character, narky little. Became a manager in later years.
You know, funny enough, when you started talking, it's weird because this name comes straight to my head, and I'm thinking it's going to be him. But I don't know why, because I mean, it's not someone who I feel some people might think, oh, he was just like a steady Eddie sort of thing. But like, that's why it's your best 11. That's why it's great. But carry on anyway.
Yeah. So this guy. Yeah, I've got a great story about when I first come to Luton, actually. But yeah, and Danny was. Oh, I said it now.
And you just said his name, Danny Wilson.
Danny Wilson, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Danny Wilson,
I've not heard his name so far.
No.
Well, Danny, I thought was, you know, an integral part of that side when I first broke into the side at Luton. You know, I thought he was, I say, great legs, you know, in the midfield. Did a lot of the fetching and carrying, and but better on the ball than people gave him credit for.
Yeah.
Played for Northern Ireland, even though he didn't sound very Irish. He was plastic Irishman. But no, I think we had games where, Danny scored goals in the sort of Ian Dowie kind of era that time, where we had to win games to stay up again. It was a recurring theme, wasn't it, in those days? And I thought he was a great character.
What's the story? The story's
well, when I first signed for Watford, Tumble signed as well, didn't he? And there was Darren and Ali McDonough lived above the brewery tap, didn't they?
Yeah.
So the first chance we got, I think we'd only been training a few days. They said, "Oh, everybody's going to go out, get to know the new lads well," which was great, and obviously Danny was a part of that. He lived down the Bedford Road, I think, didn't he? Somewhere like that. Anyway, like, we all went out, started in the brewery tap, and I don't know why, because I never drank. When I was at Colchester, I drank just normal lager, but in the brewery tap anyway, the only sort of lager that I could see that I kind of like knew and I liked, I thought, well, I don't know if I liked it even, was Stella. I mean, so I started drinking pints of Stella. So I think we stayed in the brewery tap. There was another pub further down the road we went to, but then we were going to come back for last orders back at the brewery tap. So when we were running back, I was projectile sick, trying to get back to the brewery tap. Got back to the brewery tap, had another pint. At the same time, all the wives and girlfriends were all in with Ali McDonough in their flat, and Danny's wife Karen was obviously up there as well. So anyway, I've had this last pint, and then we've gone to Danny's flat. There must have been, I don't know, 8-10 people in there, plus plus partners. Anyway, I'm standing in the corner. I'm feeling like, you know, I'm going to throw up again at any point. So someone said to me, I think it was Ali, said, "Oh, you know, who are you?" I said, "Oh, you know, I'm Jane's husband. Yeah, you know, I'm the new goalkeeper kind of thing, you know." She said, "Oh, I thought you were a youth team player because you were so quiet." Well, I was feeling green, you know. And they'd got a toilet. It was a flat. They got a toilet, and she said, "Are you all right?" I said, "I don't feel very well." So I was going to throw up again, but Karen Wilson was in the toilet, and obviously, you know, couldn't like rush her. But I'd started being sick into my hands, and Karen came out, and I went in and demolished the toilet, and then I had to get a taxi home. I was in a complete mess. I had to stop the taxi on the way home. Was sick out of the taxi out into the curb. And
was that the last of Stella? It was never had again.
Yeah.
Was it?
Never again. No. I don't even know why I had it that night, but it was the most ridiculous thing. And we had to train the next day, and we went in the next day. I had a headache, like, you know, like death. And Ray Arford pulled me, and because he could smell it on me, he went, "What are you doing?" You know, I said, "Well, you know, the lads just wanted to welcome us. You know, you can't not." I said, "Yeah, but how many pints did you have?" I said, "I don't know, about 8. He went, "8?" He said 2 pints is enough. He said 3 at the most. He said 8. That's ridiculous. You give me a right bollocking, yeah. But at the time, I was like, "No, you're right. You're absolutely right. There's no way I should have had 8 pints." Yeah, but it was a fierce squad. They could drink, couldn't they? Dasmo and Danny. If you saw what Danny Wilson could drink and then go and run around like he did, he deserved to be in the team for that. and the fact that he smoked as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
You know. But great lads, yeah. The other lads, I say, had an educated left foot. Real nice lad. Not a particularly big boy. I suppose Danny's not a big lad, but I think this lad was even smaller. Came from a lower league where he was, you know, obviously scouted from. He was doing really well, and a real character in the dressing room. He'd got a bit of a unmistakable accent, and he was just a real friendly lad, bit of a grubby little sod, really, you know what I mean? But he was a great little footballer, and very good set piece taker.
Was he king of the nutmegs?
Yes. Yeah. So these guys together were arguably as good a pair as I can remember, really. So they were at the same club.
God bless him. David Priest.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
Priesty.
Yeah, Priesty was. It was a real, obviously tragic what happened to him. But he was a brilliant footballer, and I think at the time we were playing, he got involved. There was England had a B team, and he went and got called up into that squad and went away with England B at one point. So, you know, he was really highly thought of. At the time, I think David Seaman was just about breaking through as well. So I don't know if it was David Seaman that got, because I think Priesty reckons that they'd been like watching me, but David Seaman was, you know, David Seaman. So I don't think they got that one wrong, did they, to be fair? But yeah, Priesty was a class footballer, absolute class. Great lad, great in the dressing room, great socially, but, you know, above all, he had a lovely left foot, you know, but also could put his foot in if he had to.
Yeah.
You know, he was a good all-round footballer, good all-round midfield player. Like Danny, I just thought they complemented each other really well. Intelligent footballer, wasn't he? Intelligent footballer.
He was very. Funny enough, I was watching one of the reruns of the derby games when I don't know if you played in it, Al. We beat them 4-2 at their place, and it was like a 12 o'clock kickoff in about September time. And I don't know if he was in goal for us then. But anyway, we went 1-0 down and then we come at 2-1. And then just before half-time, Preece gets tackled by Hessenthaler and it was like a big mass brawl. Preece jumped up and it's like wanting to scrap sort of thing. And it was like kicked off literally just before half-time. So like you said, he was a competitor, don't get me wrong, because he was small, he'll still put himself about, you know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, Hesse was at Watford, and he was a tough little player, wasn't he? I don't remember playing in that game. I played against Watford. We drew 0-0. The one I played in at home was just after Darren Sultan's tragic, his accident with
the one with Benji scored. When Benji scored,
where we beat them. We beat them at home, and then we drew 0-0 away. They were the only two games I think I played against Watford for Luton. So,
did you play the other way? Did you play the other way at all?
For Watford, yes, I did. Yeah. In fact, Springy scored the most amazing goal for Luton against me.
Yeah, you were in goal in that one. You were in goal for that game that was got really dodgy, and he got it's a cup game, wasn't it?
Yeah, Worthington Cup, the old League Cup.
Yeah.
And there was trouble, wasn't there? There was trouble before the game. I think the game was might have been delayed slightly. The fans were there was a lot of trouble in town.
What type of reception did you get? Because we've all seen over the past few days of us recording this, someone like Andre Gray got a certain reception from Luton fans because switching across. You mentioned other players have done it, and we all know players that have done it. Sean Dyche, we've interviewed already, he's done it. What was it like for you switching across?
To be fair, I think I had 3 years in between at Sunderland, so I don't know if that helped. It definitely helped. Going directly from one to the other, I think is really difficult. But when I went back, of course, the other famous one was when with Watford, we were 4-0 up in 25 minutes at Kenilworth Road, and Lenny Lawrence was manager, and I was in goal at the away end, and then I had to go to the main Luton end, Kenilworth Road.
The Kenilworth end,
for the second half, and I was expecting pelters. I was expecting I got a standing ovation. Unbelievable. Every time I went back to Luton, I got a fantastic reception, I've got to say, and it meant a lot. It always means a lot when you get that kind of reaction. And I've been fortunate to go to Sunderland with Watford after I left Sunderland, and because I left on a great time, when we just got promoted to the Premier League, I suppose they remember the good times, because I had a tough time when I first went up there. In fact, I played at Luton for Sunderland. We got beat about 2 or 3-1. We got well beaten, and that was hard to go back and play against your mates that you'd just been in the dressing room with. I found that really difficult. After a period of time, it's not so bad, but that initial playing there for the first time was tough. I've always been really thankful that, by and large, Luton fans were brilliant with me, absolutely brilliant.
And what were the Watford fans like the other way around? When you signed for them, were they anti you because you play for Luton?
I think there was obviously a few raised eyebrows, and I think again, fortunately for me, Kevin Miller was the first choice goalkeeper when I came back down from Sunderland. I think the plan was for Kev to get sold, and then I would have been possibly playing. But Kev didn't get sold for a year, so I had to kick my heels. I only played 4 games the first year I went to Watford, and then Kev got sold to Crystal Palace, and that's when Chris Day came as part of the deal the other way. So when I stepped in, Kev was ill one day when I made my debut at Crewe. We literally travelled up on the day of the game. I got picked up on the motorway, and Kenny Jackett was manager. Graham had stepped down from. He tried to stay. He took over and tried to keep Watford up, but they didn't stay up. Kenny got appointed manager, and I signed. Although Graham was sort of general manager, I signed with Graham in the office. But obviously Kenny was actually the playing manager, So when I got on the bus, and Kenny just went, you know, matter of fact, which Kenny is, you're playing today. Kev's ill. I was like, oh, right, okay. So, but at this time, I'm 32. Yeah, 32. So experienced. I've got probably 400 or 500 games behind me. Still nerve-wracking when you're making your debut, but we won 2-0 up there. But Kev was fit and well in the next game, and Kenny, left me out because Kev was having an incredible season. He was Player of the Year that year, and I expected to get left out. He did leave me out, and then I played, I think, 3 games at the end of the season when probably Kev he won the Player of the Year. He knew he was going to move. I don't know if he did have a serious injury or not. I don't think it was nothing too bad, but I played the last few games, and then I started the following season. So I was a gentle break-in, if you will. And I think had things not gone well, I'm sure I'd have been reminded of my past. But, because, by and large, I had a good time at Watford in terms of, playing and performances. They seem to just, it always gets a mention, never thought I was going to like you when you came, but Nigel Gibbs has got the best way of putting it. He said, you're a born again hornet. That's how he puts it. So, he forgive me because Nigel's one club man. He only literally from St Albans played for Watford all through his career. And I ended up rooming with Gibbo. And Gibbo always said, well, if I can forgive you, anybody can forgive you, because and I suppose it would have been the same other way. But people like Kerry Dixon had a tough time going from one club to the other, didn't they? Had a real tough time. So it wasn't automatic. I think if you engage with the fans, and we obviously at Watford we had a lot of community stuff to do. So, you went to schools after training, and it was Graham Taylor was really big on that. But not just schools. You did all sorts of presentations, with businesses and things. So, if you went out and you interacted with people, they got to know you a little bit more. And what it's like. Word goes round. If you're an idiot, word gets round. If you're an okay guy that wants to engage, then your reputation is enhanced, isn't it?
Yeah.
I always think the best advice I can give to anybody, and what I give to my children, is you treat people how you want to be treated. And so that's a good just a simple little thing how to get on with people if there's too much hate in the world, isn't there?
And also, I'll just go back to that game you said. We had a load of injuries that day when you were 4-0 up, and it was a case where if there was any time they really could come after you, would have been that day. 4-0 down in their own backyard. It could have been easy to start on you, but they didn't. So credit to you.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, it really was. I felt for everybody that day, because the atmosphere was quite toxic. The Luton fans were obviously upset. I get that. But Lenny Lawrence was getting I think people were trying to get at Lenny and over the dugouts, because the dugouts were still on the main stand side. Right. Obviously, I think they got moved soon after that, probably.
They did.
Yep.
Centre forwards.
Definitely. Centre forwards, yeah. Strikers.
Okay. Well, by the way, I should also go back just quickly on the centre midfielders. 2 people that I wrote down as well were Micah Hyde at Watford, who was terrific, and Roger Osborne, who I played with at Colchester United, back to Colchester days. Roger obviously scored the FA Cup winning goal for Ipswich. And I travelled up and down the A12 with him from Ipswich to Colchester most days. Great lad. What a good player. And he was really influential in that Colchester dressing room, in that period of time when we had a really young side, and a lot of us could come through the youth team or the reserves, and Roger was sort of the real old head in midfield, but still really, really fit. You know, for his age, he was superbly fit. Played till well over his 35, and you know, great guy, and very humble guy. You know, later in life, he became like a lorry driver. And going back to what I was saying about our families knew each other, my dad used to come and watch a lot of games, especially when I was at Colchester, and so he got to know Roger. And Roger happened to be delivering out in Ramsey one day, and he asked somebody in the high street if they knew Peter Chamberlain, and they obviously said, "Oh, you know, he lives down like Hollow Lane." And he went and knocked on my mum and dad's door and said hello to my dad. Yeah, like that's what a top man. What a top man, eh?
Yeah.
So that was awesome. Moving on. Again, you know, like always, I've got 4 written down, but I've had to go for 2. And it's a real close one in terms of target men. You know, 3 of the 4 are target men, really, and
3 of the 4 are target men.
Yeah. And then I've got the other one that's like a player that feed off a target man.
I'm just going to throw it out there for that one now. Then Kevin Phillips. No, because Kev, I didn't actually. He was at Watford, but he was injured all season. Sunderland.
I never played with him at Sunderland.
Okay.
No. So although I, you know, in sticking with your rules, I never actually stepped on the pitch with Kev. I trained with him, and I ran round Castleberry Park with him in pre-season. Just before he signed for Sunderland. Yeah, you know, he had a real terrible year. He had something wrong with his foot. They couldn't diagnose the problem, and it ended up got it sorted. But you know, the season was coming to an end. Anyway, jogging round, he was out of contract, and he sidled up to me and said, "Oh, you know," he said, "You were at Sunderland, weren't you?" He said, "You know, I've got a chance to go up there." He said, "You know, what do you reckon?" I said, "Kev," I said, "if you go up there and score the goals that you know, I think you probably can, I said, you'll be a god." And the rest is history.
Yes. And he finished top scorer in the Premier League.
Absolutely. What a player. But no, sadly, I didn't play with Kev.
Didn't play with Kev, all right.
Delighted for him. But the one off of him.
Which one are we going for? Big man or little man?
We'll go big man. He's going to be quite. You know, as I say, there's two that stand out for different reasons at one club, and then one later on in my career that was probably as hard a player as I came. Well, it'd be a close one, but this lad was tough as teak, and not particularly physically massive lad either. But he more than punched his weight, let me tell you. But he's not made it because this other guy was such a great all-round footballer and tough as teak as well. Could do pretty much everything. You know, he could hold it up, could volley it. After he chested it, he could volley it to the wide man. Stick it in the box, he'd head it. Great first touch. You know, literally played for his country. Which was an outstanding achievement because of the country he represents. Yeah, he had a great career. Michael, of course. Michael, yeah.
Michael Harford.
And he played for the country, played for England, didn't he? Got a few caps for England. Played for Sunderland as well later on in his career.
Yes. He's a Sunderland boy, born and bred, isn't he?
Yeah, but I say Hyder Helgeson was the other one I was referring to. Hyder, was smaller than Mick. Hyder's only about 6 foot. Mick's probably about my size, maybe even 6'2"-ish. So bigger, but Hyder would head a brick wall. You know, he was tough, real fearless. Not particularly great trainer, but put him like Mark Hughes. You know, those sort of people you talk about. You know, first pick on a Saturday though, because you know he would you know, he literally his first touch and everything would be awful all week, and then on a Saturday he would be great. Mick was, as I say, all those things I said about him in the old days with the on the plastic pitch with the Adidas Tango.
Oh,
half volley onto Mick's chest. Mick would chest it, volley it, get in the box. Fantastic. You know, I mean, literally football at its simplest, but for a big man, he had silky feet. He had such a great touch, you know, and nobody liked playing against him because he.
What was it like in training against somebody like him and Heider Helgeson? Did you find it hard to go through them? Yeah, obviously practicing crosses, just kind of going through them, but punching and catching and stuff like that, or.
I think I can't really remember that far back with Mick, to be honest with you. I don't think he was overly aggressive with us in training. I don't know about you, Marv.
Listen, Mick wasn't like what's the word? Wouldn't go to do us, but Mick would compete like it's a proper match to let us know that he was there. That's when I decided in the games or the little small-sided games to go and play in midfield or maybe centre forward sometimes. So
yeah, keep out of his way. Yeah. No, I don't remember him ever putting myself on the backside, but Heider was more clumsy than anything. I don't think he meant it. You know, as I say, in training, he wasn't really that kind of bad. You know, in fact, he got one of the goalkeepers, real young goalkeeper, unfortunately, went and he made a bad decision going out of the box and cleaned Heider out and done his ACL at Watford at one point. But, you know, Heider was just on a Saturday. He was like I say, the best equivalent is Mark Hughes. They say he was terrible Monday to Friday, but on a Saturday, you know, he was tough and you wouldn't want to play against him. And that was Heider, really. But I think it was more the fact, the best penalty taker I've ever seen as well, Heider. And he did the one where just used to watch the keeper. And if the goalkeeper waited and waited and waited, he'd whip it into the bottom left-hand corner as we're looking. But if the goalkeeper went the other way, he just rolled the ball into the other side. He was the coolest customer ever. I never missed one. And Richard Lee, who was sort of like, he played a bit at Watford, but was more sort of like a number two, really. But he had an amazing record as a penalty saver. And in training and everything, he could never, ever save Heider's penalties. Unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, you've seen people do it now, but Heider was one of the first to do that sort of thing.
Wow.
So
next to Heider, next to Heider is a little man.
Yeah. The other one, he's not little. Again, he was probably 5'11", but he's a proper footballer. Going back, this is the one I was talking about. He should have come to Luton in my opinion, he should have come to Luton at that time. And Ray knew all about him. So I'm giving you a bit of a clue with Ray Harford's background. It's from my early days. It'd be a tough one for you to get, but he went on a good career. Good career. Scored a lot of goals. He went and played for Man City, played for Peterborough United, played for Bradford. They were the main clubs. I'm trying to think if there's anywhere else. He had 2 or 3 spells at Peterborough. But this guy was, when I played with him, Liverpool were watching him. That's how good he was, you know. And you're talking about Liverpool at the time with Kenny Dalglish and Ian Rush up front. And they were like looking for someone, obviously, to come and maybe be under them, you know, and learn and get eventually maybe take over from Dalglish, because he was that kind of player. He played wide as a winger. That first year when I was at Ipswich Town, a guy that also was originated from Ramsey was a school teacher in Ipswich, and he was a mad Colchester fan. So he would go and watch Colchester, or just a football fan, actually. No, it's not right. He was a Peterborough United fan. He was just a football fan. So he used to pick me up from my digs. And on a Friday night, Colchester always used to play, and we used to go and watch him. And this lad was just out of the youth team, playing wide, and did really well as a winger. But then when I actually got there, he played up front with my best mate, who now I live in Northampton, all because of this lad, Keith Bowen, is the other lad that played up front with Keith Bowen. Keith always says, I made him, I made him. He used to do like the Mick Arthur job of roughing a few people up, or Hyder, and this other lad used to score all the goals. But
so you played with this lad at Colchester?
Yeah.
And he was at Peterborough twice?
2 or 3 times, yeah. He played for Man City, scored a hat-trick for Man City in that famous 10-1 win against Huddersfield. Bradford. He wouldn't be a household name. Would be difficult for you because he didn't go on and do what he should have done, but he had a good career lower down. Real nice lad as well. Real nice lad. Comes away on a golf trip now and again with us.
Nah, I'm never going to get it, Marv.
You'd have played against him, Marv, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to dig deep. Liverpool in for him as well.
What he was brilliant at Colchester when I played with him, like say Roger Osborne would play a ball into his feet, and he could literally drop his shoulder either way, turn and shoot and score. Off either foot. He was good in the air for his size. Could score any kind of goal, really. And the tragedy with the Liverpool story was he'd done his cruise shirt at the point Liverpool were going to bid, and he just lost a bit of a half a yard of pace, which obviously made a lot of difference.
Go on, put us out of a misery.
His name is Tony Adcock.
Oh, had he come to Luton?
Addy, do you know what? I did
He
think
come
at the
to
back of my
Luton.
mind. Yeah. Addy the caddy. Yeah. But if you saw him when he was about 2021, unbelievable he was. As I say, probably arguably as good a finisher as I've played with. Could score any kind of goal. Particularly remember goals. I mean, a mate of mine who's a season ticket holder still at Colchester United now, and when we always talk about, he said, Addy's the best player I've ever seen, for Colchester. Best finisher, just the best. Honestly, he was natural, just had natural balance, had a bit of pace.
Yeah, had a bit of pace, yeah.
But he lost a bit, Marv. The time you played with him, he lost a bit, and that was probably what held him back. And also,
right.
I tell you what, the thing that Ray, God rest his soul, always said about Addy was the reason he didn't go and get him for us. He couldn't understand why when he went to Man City, I think he was only there for either 6 or 12 months, and he scored. I think he scored because he scored a hat trick. He scored still. He didn't start every game, but I think he scored 1 in 2, something like that at Man City. But Man City sold him quickly. I don't know why. They must have had somebody else they wanted to get in. And he went and signed for Northampton Town. And so he went from Colchester in the 4th division to Man City, who I think were in the 2nd division at the time. And he went back to the 4th division. And Ray couldn't get his head around why he did that. Why did he go back to that level? Why did he not, But obviously in those days, there was no agents, there was no advice.
No.
Addy was such a nice lad. He probably just went away along the deal. He just went along. Oh, okay. Northampton one. Okay.
Or what's come back closer to home, or any reasons?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I've never really asked him. I'll have to ask him next time that we're together. Why when he left Man City, he didn't dig his heels in and just wait for he did well at Northampton. Don't get me wrong. But I know what Ray means. He could have played at that level and maybe higher. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember he come to Luton. He was a good lad, Addy. I asked him about that time when I stitched him up with Politi in the Lecturelux toilets.
In the toilet?
In the Lecturelux bathroom, yeah. I knew Politi was in the cubicle because I was in the piers, and Addy come in and he was going, mate, who the hell's that in there? Because the noise was coming out of the toilet, and I was going like that. I don't know. And the toilet flush, and Politi come out, and he was like, Ali's face was bright red because I knew he was in there, and I didn't say nothing.
All right. Yeah. Fantastic.
Good lad. He's a good lad.
Fantastic. So you've named your 11 best players, Alec. Last thing to do is name who is the manager, either your best manager you've ever worked under, or the manager who you think could manage this team best.
Well, I think, from a sentimental point of view, I'm going to go with someone that, at the time when he was appointed, he had a great impact, I think, on all of us that played at Luton, and he got really badly treated at the end of it, and we were all gutted when he got sacked. And I'm gonna say Jimmy Ryan, because, as I say, Jimmy, when I went to Luton, I'd already played 200 games for Colchester, so I was used to playing first team football. Then obviously had a year at Everton, come back to Luton, simply because there was a bit of thought process. Neville Southall was probably arguably the best in the world at the time. It was great working with him for a year, but when I got a chance to move to Luton, with all due respect to Les, he wasn't, Neville Southall. So I thought, I've got a better chance. I'm still moving in the first division. I've got a better chance there. And it was coming back down south again, nearer to the family. So that was my thought process. Anyway, I played then for Jimmy in the reserves for quite a long time, until Les, eventually got left out after the cup final against Nottingham Forest. And I got in the first team then. So I probably played 7 or 8 months under Jimmy in the reserves, and he was brilliant to play for, I've got to say. And we had all the young lads. You'd have been part of that team coming through then, wouldn't you? Yeah. So, we had a lot of good young players, and he just had the best camaraderie and the best. He just got the best out of the lads, really. And then he continued that with the first team. I thought he was excellent. And the biggest tragedy for me in my time at Luton was when he got sacked, and David Kohler, and we had the meeting with him and that Peter, whatever the other guy, his partner. Nelkin, yeah. I don't know if Peter Malkin was still there, because eventually it was just David Kohler, wasn't it? But he sacked him. We got called in meeting. It was the day after we just stayed up again, wasn't it? We just stayed up. Was it the Derby game, or was it?
I think so. Yeah.
I think after the Derby game, and David Kohler said, I think I asked the question, why have you done it? And he said, just staying up at the, after we'd had the high of Derby. This was 2 days later. They'd sacked Jimmy, and he said, just staying up at this club is not good enough. Next season we got relegated and depleted. So, sometimes you get what you deserve, and David Kohler got what he deserved, in my opinion. I'm a great fan of that little fella, I've got to be honest. But and I'm glad they never built the Kohler Dome.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was the talk.
That tells you everything you need to know about David Kohler. I ain't got a bad word to say about many people, but he was one arrogant. True. He was one arrogant man. Oh yeah, weren't keen on him. And I'm not nothing against Pleaty, but it was just one of those things. I just couldn't get my head around it. So Jimmy will always be, have a fond memories of him being our manager. I remember. It might have been his first game. We had Liverpool away at Anfield, and it must have been his first game. And John Faulkner, I was obviously working with him as well. Another great guy. And we were just about to go. The bell had gone to go down the famous steps at Anfield, and on the physio bed there was all these little tots of whiskey. And Jimmy said, before we left the door, have a shot of courage, lads. And we had to down a shot of whiskey before we went out and played at Anfield. That's my kind of manager, let me tell you. So yeah, no. Joking apart, he was a great football man. That was a bit of a shock to us all, really. But
massive.
But I think at the same time, you know, everybody loved Jimmy, and he knew his football, and he went on obviously to do really well at Man United as European scout. I don't know if he's still working there now.
He was assistant manager at one stage as well.
Yeah,
he was. Yeah. So you know, Luton's loss was Manchester United's gain, and obviously he had some of his football career there, didn't he, as well, before he joined Luton. True. I think so. Yeah, you know, obviously I was fortunate to play under Graham Taylor, you know, Ray Harford, a lot of David Pleat, a lot of really, really big names. But for this particular podcast and for this particular team, I'm going to go with Jimmy Ryan.
Excellent, Al. Al, so listen, that's fantastic. Just before you go, what are you doing now? I think you've touched on it a little bit with about Daishi. Just let all the clubs you've been at and the teams that you've played for know where and what you're doing at the moment.
Yeah, so obviously when I was lucky, when I finished playing, I was player coach at Watford, then I became goalkeeping coach, and then obviously time went on. Daichi became manager actually, and after Malky, and then even when Gianfranco Zola came after the big takeover, the Italians, I stayed there as goalkeeping coach. But eventually, when Gianfranco left, they brought in an Italian goalkeeping coach, which was quite I was waiting for it to happen, really. I worked with Paolo, though, for quite a couple of seasons before eventually I moved down and started working in the academy. Stayed there till 2017 when, you know, they basically wanted a part company, which was fine. And since then, I've been initially working part-time as a scout for Burnley, and now I'm full-time as a scout. But also the other thing that I'd started doing was picking up doing the under. Initially, I was doing the under-19s and the under-17s with Wales, but when Robert Page took over the under-21s, he wanted me to move up with him to the 21s. So that's a nice little role where, you know, I can get on the grass and, you know, still keep in touch with the young players of today. And then the scouting, obviously, it's changed in its formats with COVID. You know, we've done a lot of work in the last 14 months or so in front of the laptop, really doing a lot of stuff on Y-Scout and a lot of player. So it's basically doing player reports on players that might be of interest to us. You know, we've got something like 14, 15,000 reports on players now. You know, it's incredible. But yeah, we've obviously got American owners now at Burnley, so it's a new chapter, and you know, obviously Daichi's done an amazing job at Burnley, and you know, still got a little bit of work to do this season to hopefully stay up. But if that's the case, then, you know, we're looking towards the next window and see what we can bring in and help for next season, really. So that's the main focus at the moment.
Excellent.
Fantastic. And it was great to hear. And thank you so much for your time, Alec. And it was really appreciated by myself and Marv.
No, thanks, you guys. Yeah, and different continents. That's fantastic. Yeah,
it is. Thank you. Thank
you.
Thank you so much. And that was Alec Chamberlain's My Best 11.